Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the University of Iowa Sports Information Director Emeritus, Mr. Phil Hattie.
Okay, and welcome anybody now who wants to view this next presentation. We have Hawkeye royalty, the Hall of Fame class. Come on in here and take a seat right now. This is welcome everybody to year number 11 of FRYfest. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to have all of you here. At this time, I'd like to have the 2019 Hall of Fame class come up and just grab a seat, and then we're going to have you stand up right as we list your accomplishments. So come on up right now, all of you. Come on up and take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have them stand up as we talk about them. We'll do it alphabetically. First of all, representing track and field, Hall of Famer Jeremy Allen. Stand up, stay up. He's a 5-time All-American between 1998 and 2001, a 4-time Big Ten Conference champion, Big Ten Conference Freshman of the Year, indoor and outdoor in 1998, a 4-time All-Big Ten Conference pick. He was the all-time program leader in the outdoor shot put. He ranks in the top 10 in program history in 4 weight throw events. He's the first thrower ever to win the outdoor and indoor Big Ten Conference Freshman of the Year award. He was also a 4-year letterman in football as a fullback. Is that right? Okay, fullback. I know. His head coach in football, of course, back then was Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz, and where he gained All-American honors in track, his head coach, Larry Wazorek, Hall of Famer Jeremy Allen. Deb Brickey, field hockey, 1982 through 1985, a 2-time All-American, first team in 84 and 85, a 2-time All-Region team, same years, 3-time All-Big Ten, first team in 83, 4, and 5. She was Big Ten a member of the Big Ten All-Decade team. She was an NCAA All-Tournament team member in 84. She's a 2-time team captain, a member of the NCAA Tournament runner-up team in 1984, a member of 3 NCAA Tournament Elite 8 teams, a member of 3 Big Ten Conference Championship teams, 82, 83, and 85, and she was a member of the United States national team, 88 through 1990. Her head coach at Iowa was Judith Davidson. Hall of Famer Deb Brickey. Hawkeye wrestler and Hall of Famer Eric Juergens. Eric wrestled 1997 through 2001. He's a 2-time NCAA champion at 133 pounds, and it looks like he could just about make that weight right now. 4-time All-American, 1998 through 2001. A 2-time Big Ten Conference champion, a Big Ten Conference Wrestler of the Year in 2001. He was Big Ten Freshman of the Year in 1998, the Midlands Open champion in 2000. He was the Art Craft Champion of Champions award winner in 2001. 2-time Iowa Male Athlete of the Year for the University of Iowa. He's a member of 3 NCAA championship teams, and his head coaches were Dan Gable, Jim Zaleski, and the Brands brothers were there as assistants also. Hall of Famer Eric Juergens. Hall of Famer Marc Long, swimming and diving, 1986 through 1989. A 6-time All-American, first-team All-American in 88 and 89. A 3-time Big Ten Conference champion in the same years. 2-time All-Big Ten Conference. He's a 2-time team captain, 88 and 89. He's a member of the 8th place NCAA championship team of 1989. That's the highest place an Iowa swimming team has ever placed. He set NCAA and Big Ten Conference records in the 200 freestyle relay. He was part of that team, and he set 5 school records for the Hawkeyes. He ranks in the top 10 all-time in program times for the 100 butterfly and is part of the 200 freestyle relay team. His coach, Glenn Patton, Hall of Famer Marc Long. Diane Pohl, softball, 1989 through 1992. 2-time All-American. She was first team in 1990 and 1991. 3-time All-Regional, first team in 90 and 91. A 3-time All-Big Ten Conference pick. Big Ten Conference All-Decade team member in 1992. She's a 2-time Iowa Female Athlete of the Year, a 2-time team MVP, and a member of 2 NCAA regional appearance teams, 89 and 91. She's a member of 2 Big Ten Conference championship teams, and she helped set 8 school records for the Hawkeyes. She set Big Ten Conference stolen base records, and she ranks 3rd all-time in program career stolen bases. Her coach, Gail Blevins, Hall of Famer herself, Hall of Famer Diane Pohl. A defensive end in football, Leroy Smith. Leroy, a consensus first-team All-American in 1991. He was Big Ten Conference Defensive Player of the Year in 1991. Big Ten Conference Defensive Lineman of the Year also. He was all Big Ten first team that same year, a member of the Big Ten Conference Championship team in 1990. He's a member of the Rose Bowl team that same year. He was also a member of the Hawkeyes when they were part of a Holiday Bowl team. He was team captain in 1991. He was one of the winners of the Team Most Valuable Player Award in 91. Gannett News named him to the all-time Iowa football team. He set all-time conference and program records for quarterback sacks in a season, also in 1991, and he holds the program records for quarterback sacks in a season and quarterback sacks in a game. His head coach, we're named after him today, Hayden Fry, Hall of Famer Leroy Smith. Hall of Famer Tangela Smith, basketball. 1995 through 1998. She was an All-American in 1998. She was Big Ten Conference Player of the Year the same year, 1998. 3-time All-Big Ten Conference, first team twice. She was the Chicago Tribune's Silver Basketball Award recipient as the top player in the Big Ten in 1996. A member of 3 NCAA tournament teams, 96, 7, and 8, and a member of 3 Big Ten Conference championship teams, 96, 7, and 8. She ranks in the top 10 all-time in program career scoring and rebounding. She was coached at Iowa by Vivian Stringer and Angie Lee. Hall of Famer Tangela Smith. Now we're going to go down the line, folks, and we're going to ask these guys. It's been quite a while since these people left, but the first question we're going to ask each of them, and we're just going to go down the line here, and I think the people will be interested to hear what's been going on in your lives. Tell us what's happened since you left the University of Iowa, and basically, if you have families, tell us about your family. Don't be afraid to have your family stand up and just tell us what's been going on as far as your family and what's happened since you left the University of Iowa. We'll have more questions, but that's the first. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, now I actually live in Dallas, Texas, and I've been working in fitness. So now I'm a personal trainer. I do that. I've had a couple accomplishments with that as far as training people from The Biggest Loser and training young athletes and things like that. And I help coach youth athletes in both track and field and fitness and just general speed and conditioning. I'm married now with 2 kids. So things are going pretty well right now. I feel like it's been so long since I've been back in Iowa, and it feels great. But I think I lead a pretty normal life now, and I'd like to look back on my sports career. And whenever I watch the Hawkeyes play football or see what they're doing in all the other sports, it's really cool. So that's what I'm doing now.
Let me ask you one additional question. It's been quite a while since you've been here. How was it balancing between 2 sports there, between track and football?
Wow, it was a challenge. I had to be very organized. So in order to get my schoolwork done, I had to make sure I set out time for that. Then during the spring, I had to do spring ball. Then I was able to do track, had indoor track. And then we had football, if we were to make a bowl game and go to practice. It was pretty tough, but I was lucky to have coaches that worked together and didn't, force me to split time. They were saying when it was football season, I stuck with football. When it's track season, I did track. So I was blessed in that position. So it was not too bad.
That's great. Deb, we'll let you take the mic.
Hi there. My family's here with me. My wife, Sarah. Sarah, stand up over there. William, my son. Teddy, my son, standing up. And my mother-in-law, Kathy. So thank you for joining me. Since leaving Iowa, I live in Connecticut now, moved to the East Coast. And I'm still in field hockey. I started a field hockey club. We have sites in the East Coast and the West Coast. So I get to teach the game I love, share the great game of field hockey, and just loving life.
Okay. Eric Juergens.
So I'm actually from Maquoketa, Iowa, so I'm not too far away from here. Live in the Quad Cities now. Have 2 boys, 2 and 5. They're a little bit of hurricanes, so I chose not to bring them. Yeah.
Are they wrestlers?
They're maybe. We'll see. I work for a firearm import company out of Reno, Nevada. I sell hunting rifles and shotguns, and yeah, I still teach kids with wrestling, youth, Young Guns Wrestling Club. So, yep, I brought some buddies. Actually, the guy who runs the wrestling club with me, Jody Sturtmatter, wrestled the same weight as me over there, and Greg Marley from Michigan. So anyway, yeah.
If there's some people back there who wonder who we're talking to up here, we're talking to royalty. This is the University of Iowa Hall of Fame class 2019. Okay, Diane. Or Marc, I'm sorry. He's still on staff. I was forgetting him at first. I'm sorry. Marc,
That's all right, Phil. Yeah, so I probably have the shortest commute. I live in Coralville currently. Right after college, I was about 5 years in the corporate world, and then went back into coaching with first in club, and then came back with the university. And the last 15 years, I've been the head coach here with the swimming and diving program. I also have family here. My kids are Hurricanes, but I think they've grown up. And so I have 2 boys, and my wife Beth right here, my son Reese, my wife's, I'm going to call a husband, Harris, and then my mom Diane, and my son Ethan.
And I'll be the first to say Marc has done an absolutely outstanding job with the Iowa men's and women's swimming team, and I expect it's going to be another good year, Marc.
Oh, we hope so. We've got about 24 freshmen, so 17 of them women. So my white hair may go silver or silver white, one or the other, but it's going to be, we're looking for a great year.
Okay, Diane?
When I left Iowa first, I coached some softball for high school, and then I realized they didn't have the same dedication that I did, so for me. So I went ahead and went on to do some work. I moved to Portland, Oregon about 15 years ago, and here with me today I have my girlfriend Chelsea, our kids Jack, Joey, and Aiden. And my two best friends are here from California, Nora and Becky, and my brother and his son, my nephew Jackson, is here. I'm hoping to make him a Hawkeye one day. So yeah, it's great to be back. And I now know, because he's a fitness, we were all wondering why he looked like that, but he's a fitness instructor, so it explained it, didn't it, Leroy?
That's great. Leroy, welcome back. Leroy was one of those defensive ends for the Hawkeyes that at that time he was considered very undersized, and they couldn't figure out how quickly he got back to the quarterback so quick, but he did one heck of a job. Leroy Smith.
My name is Leroy Smith. The people that came here with me is my family, my son Israel, Ishmael, stand up, Israel. Israel's the first one, Ishmael's the second one, my wife Laura, my nephew Khalil Blad, my sister-in-law Jackie, my mom Carolyn, stand up, stand up, my nephew Kingston, I'm sorry, my brother Tony, I don't know where, oh, he's right there. What I've been doing, I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, I'm managing a bank. The most important thing is seeing my family, working out and training my sons with their sports endeavors and things like that. So for the last 15 years, I have been just managing the bank and enjoying my family life, and that's the most important thing. All right.
All right. Basketball, Tangela Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tangela Smith.
Okay. So I have my family here too. My granny G right here. My sister Kiana, stand up, stand up. My auntie Penny, my cousin Wanton, my niece Chloe, stepdad Robert, and my uncle Durrell is here somewhere. My little niece Taraji, and my uncle Durrell, he's walking in late. You know, that's what they do. But since I graduated, I actually in '98 I got drafted to play in the WNBA. So for the past 15 years, I played in the WNBA for 15 years. I played on Phoenix, Sacramento, Indiana, San Antonio, and Charlotte. I also played overseas professionally for like 14 years maybe in countries like Israel, Italy, Poland, Russia, Hungary, China, Korea, and a lot more. And after that, I still had the itch, so I began to coach, and I've been coaching for the past 6 years. I was at Western Michigan, and now I coach at Northwestern. Sorry, it's in the Big Ten, but I still bleed the black and gold.
You just keep the mic, because the next question is going to start with you. But I want to remind everybody that every year we say, this is an unbelievable Hall of Fame class, and we say it can't get any better. And every year it seems to be a class that is just as good as the previous class. And indeed, with so many great athletes at the University of Iowa, you're being added to what we call royalty. So congratulations, and you're a member of the FRYfest family. And I do want to tell everybody that 2 days ago I spoke to Hayden Fry, and he is so sorry that he cannot make it. He sends everybody his love. He sends a little extra hug to Leroy and Jeremy, because he helped coach these young men back then. And he's in Texas right now, and he's unable, because of his health, both he and Shirley, to make it up here. And hopefully we can get him back up here someday. But he knows you're all having a good time, and he sends his love. And like always, he says, "Go Hawks," and scratch where it itches, and beat them up. So Tangela, we're going to start with you this time. Tell us how it felt when you found out you're going into the Hall of Fame, and please tell us maybe what was your favorite, we're not going to ask anybody your worst memory, but your favorite memory when you were at the University of Iowa as a student athlete.
Okay, sorry, I missed my coach, Coach Myers. Sorry, she coached me while I was here. She didn't have on a Hawkeye gear, so I didn't see her right there. So thank you. But sorry. When I first heard the news about me getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, of course I was so excited, humbled, honored, and I mean a lot of emotions came through my mind. But I was really happy at the moment. And my favorite memory here, probably, I like to eat, so I like going to the Vine. I don't know if the Vine is still here, but I like eating the wings. And we came in with a big class. It was 7 of us, so just hanging out with them and going to different events like football games, basketball games, and supporting other sports.
There's still a lot of, believe me, a lot of good restaurants in Iowa City, and almost as many as there are new apartments going up in Iowa City. But Leroy, how about you?
When I first got the announcement that I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I had to reflect and be grateful, and I was thankful that it gave me an opportunity to thank all the people that helped me get to this level. And as far as my fondest memory, I can say is when I met my wife at freshman orientation.
Tell us a little bit about going to the Rose Bowl there. We didn't do as well at the Rose Bowl, but it was
no bad memories.
It was an unbelievable accomplishment.
You said you wouldn't do this to me, Phil. Building up to the game and walking out on that stadium, you see the 106, 7,000 people, half the arena full with black, and the other half was purple. It was very exciting. We really didn't like how the game ended, but the thing about that game, for the next season, it prepared us to be a better football team and better players. So the Rose Bowl, going up to the Rose Bowl, the trip, and all that was well. Losing the game was a little tough, but it did make us a better team for the 1991 season.
Diane?
When they called me to tell me I was being inducted, obviously you're very excited, but you're a little shocked too because it's been so long. And I remember, I don't think I was excited enough because they asked me, they said, do you realize that there's only 197 people in? And then I thought, oh, well, okay, then it's a little bit more impressive now all of a sudden. My son came running in and said, you are taking me to Iowa this time. You're not going without me. So I'm happy he's here. Memory-wise, bus rides with the team, staying in the hotels, all of that. A quick funny story, though. There were 2 California kids. I was the first California recruit ever to play softball. We also had a pitcher named Terry McFarland. We were at practice one day, and it looked like it was going to have a tornado. And we freaked out a little bit, being from California. And the coach yelled at us, Gail Blevins, and she said, knock it off, get back on the field, focus. I'll tell you when it's time to panic. It's when it gets calm, not windy. And all of a sudden, about 5 minutes later, wind stopped, totally calm. We freaked out. She said, now you can freak out and run into the shelter. Which, by the way, we didn't even have a shelter. It was a fence with a little wall around it back then. So anyways, that was a very funny story. And the next time we went to California, we kind of hoped it was an earthquake so they could experience our devastation.
She was, keep the mic right there. Gail Blevins, obviously one of the greatest softball coaches in NCAA history. So what's one of your favorite things you'll always cherish about Gail Blevins?
Well, she's the whole reason I became a Hawkeye. I did not want to come to Iowa from California. I only came because she recruited me so hard, and I decided I would take a trip. And I came here, I met Gail. She's phenomenal. She's the second winningest coach in softball history to this day, and she's in the Hall of Fame. When she was inducted 3 years ago, 78 of her players came back to watch her be inducted, and that's throughout the years because that's how great of a coach she was. So fantastic all the way around.
We want to remind everyone that they will officially be inducted into the Iowa Hall of Fame tonight right here at the Marriott. at a banquet that starts about 6:15, and we hope some of you can make it tonight. Marc Long, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. For me, I've been watching over the years the inductees come back to town and they meet our team, and so when I found out, it was surreal a little bit because just being here and getting a chance to meet these people was always an honor for me. So I'm humbled and honored to be up with a group like this, and that's kind of the thoughts that went through my head. As far as a great memory, it really involves the teammates and the times we spent together. You mentioned the bus trips, the times that we spent, pushing each other to the limits, but also hanging out. I think we had a common bond, and we really share that to this day. So that's a favorite memory.
Now, keep in mind, we've got families here with young kids, but what's your favorite Glenn Patton story? That was your coach.
So the one thing about Glenn, he was really at the forefront of a large staff. So he was going to get anybody in there that's going to help an athlete succeed. So we had a large staff of GAs, and he made sure that the athletic trainers had what they needed and all the support staff. We had, before there was a director of operations, we had a director of operations. And so from an athlete perspective, he was just awesome at getting the tools you need and surrounding yourself really with great resources and great athletes that could help you succeed.
All-American wrestler Eric Juergens.
So Iowa, obviously, in the wrestling world is known as a pretty big deal. I mean, they're one of the storied programs, I guess you'd call, in the country. And coming here, finding out about the honor was just to be amongst some of those names of people I've looked up to my whole life was it's just humbling. That's about the best way I can put it. I have all sorts of, you talk about bad memories. Wrestling's evolved a bunch as far as the weight cutting and the procedures, and I was kind of right on that edge of the change, the evolution. And so my first couple years, I have all sorts of stories that probably for me personally weren't so great, but I think everybody else would have found maybe hilarious. I can remember being a little bit overweight and Gable coming in the sauna and dropping plastics at my feet and making me get dressed up and putting on a bunch of sweat clothes and going out and running sprints with the team and just pure misery. But looking back, part of the reason we were so tough, I mean, did things we didn't want to do, knowing there was a greater goal in mind. And obviously, I was lucky. I reached the pinnacle not just once, but twice. My senior year, I got to do it in front of the home crowd, family and friends, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to maybe top that emotional moment just for my own life. It was amazing. So,
well, I'm not saying that he wasn't playing with the full deck, but I've seen his head coach, Dan Gable, and he was also coached by Jim Zaleski. But Dan Gable, when somebody was overweight, he would walk into the sauna, just walk in on the spur of the moment, and he would have on his shirt and a tie, usually never a jacket. And the guy'd say, I'm overweight and I can't lose it. And Dan would stay in there in his shirt and tie in the sauna, and before long he would be soaking wet, but the guy would end up losing the weight. I guarantee you that. Isn't that true?
I'm telling you, countless stories. As a freshman, I struggled with my weight a little bit because I was kind of in a growth spurt, and I can remember a time where I had my hands on the Airdyne bike, and I didn't really want to go back in that sauna, and the coaches thought it was a good idea, and it was a spectacle. But you know what? You get through it, and it was good times. Great experience. Had a great experience in Iowa. So.
That's why they're so good. Deb, you're up next.
Great. When I found out, I got the call that I made the Hall of Fame. I don't cry a lot, and I actually cried. It was an amazing experience with a huge Iowa field hockey tradition. All the great players that have come before me, to be in that special group. I think there's maybe 7 or 9 of us field hockey players. So. I was very, very humbled.
And what effect did your coach, Judith Davidson, have on you?
She's the reason why I came to Iowa as well. I mean, she was a leader in our country with women's athletics. She was encouraging, demanding, and expected the best out of us. So
And we'll bring up one other name, one of the people that's been one of the leaders in field hockey throughout the world, Christine Grant.
Yeah, the legend. I think she recently was named an elementary school for Dr. Grant. She was our athletic director for the women's program when I was in school, and she just led the way for women athletes around the world in the country. So I can't say enough about Dr. Grant.
And it's still a name that's revered throughout the entire athletic world, Dr. Christine Grant. Jeremy?
When I got the word that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, it was really, I really couldn't believe it. It was, because I saw they had the ballots, over the years, and my name would pop up, but I was like, there's so many great athletes that come through Iowa in the track and field realm, especially that I know of. I just didn't really think much about it, and then when I got the confirmation that I was in, it was one of those true moments where I felt like, wow, this is a big deal, and this is a really awesome thing, and it kind of felt like things have come, all the way around full circle, and it kind of completes my career. So it was a great feeling.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've all been, not all of you, Mark, you're not one of you, you've been gone for quite a while. So think a little bit. How has this city changed since you were here? Let's start, Eric, we'll start in the middle this time and work our way. We'll just go back and forth. Eric, how has it changed so much? And how has your sport changed since you've been here?
I'll start just kind of with the town. I mean, for one thing, this area was not developed at all. And it's just interesting. I went for a run this morning, and it's very trendy. I guess that's the best way I can put it. Very neat. I think it adds a lot to the city. I was very impressed. So, yeah. The sport, as far as the sport, I think it's evolved a bunch. There's some rules I wish they would change, just because I don't know if it's necessarily the right direction. But for the majority, the sport is in a great direction right now. I like the fact just how much women's wrestling has added to men's wrestling. We've started to have girls in our club, and it's been a great addition. And just overall, it's exciting, I think, for the sport in general.
Diane, we're going to do you next, but one thing I have noticed for sure is how much all of you have aged, and I haven't through the years. But anyway, you've all aged very well. Diane, go ahead.
I think the whole town has changed. I still think it's interesting to drive up to Carver and look at it. That's something that they added the new part, but it doesn't look that different. And it's such a stunning building when you get inside, and kind of unimpressive when you look from the outside. So I'm really excited to show the family that. The softball field, I drove by with Gail when we went to dinner the other night, and she said, man, that thing needs an overhaul. Well, to me, it looks like a masterpiece, because when we played, we had a chain link fence and one bench and a chain link fence between us. That was it. So to me, the field looks great, but apparently they're working on getting a new one. So everything has changed. The bubble is gone. That makes me a little bit sad. I liked the bubble, but their new facilities are fantastic. So it's really impressive to see how it's grown.
Leroy, you've been gone quite a ways, quite a long time now. It's been
3 years. Now, what has changed? This whole Coralville area didn't exist. When you go around the sports complex, it was totally different. Yesterday when we got in town, I was taking my family to see the football complex. We drove around the campus and we couldn't find it. So that's one way it changed. We was here like 10 years ago. We went in the weight room and stuff like that. When we played, the weight room was the size of this stage. But when we went in there like 10 years ago, it was like an arena. It was about the size of this arena right here. We can't believe it. The players seem like they're a lot better athletes than we probably were. It's just, Iowa City is just a beautiful place. And when you look at this area and look at the people in this area, it's unbelievable. I remember this morning being in Texas, then coming here and walking in the store and people speaking to you again, it threw me for a loop. So that hasn't changed. So that's a positive.
Tangela?
Yeah, I agree. The same thing. When we was riding in from Chicago, the Coralville area has changed drastically, and I was like, oh, that wasn't there. That's here. So I've been back maybe the past couple of years with my former team that I'm coaching with. So I've seen a lot of change, and I received a tour of Carver Hawkeye Arena. It's different. Our locker room was really small, but now is amazing. And the practice facility is really nice. So I like the changes that they've made at Carver. And what was the other question? That's it? Okay. Yeah, that's about it.
Marc, we'll call on you on this one too, because obviously just because you live here, go ahead. Tell us what you think about the changes through the years.
Yeah, well, it's remarkable, and I get to see it out my office window every day. But, like was mentioned before, this area, I mean, if you were out here, probably too late, you were in trouble. So there wasn't much going on, and the booming Coralville scene and the downtown right now, it's remarkable. And I view it from our current athlete perspective in recruiting, and it's definitely, I would say when these guys came in from the coast or something, it's a lot more appealing at this time. But what a great community.
It's a good city. And Jeremy, Deb, I'm keeping you last for a reason. That's because you've been gone the longest. So you can think up, the town wasn't quite the same when you were here. But Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, I really haven't been around a ton, but coming in from Coralville, we just noticed that everything was so built up. And it was like, wow. I mean, it was like nothing there. It was just nothing there. And now, I just remember it being Perkins. We used to go there late at night, but it was just literally that Perkins was there. Now it's all this, built up, and it's just really cool. I can tell that the highways going up, and that Iowa City must be growing. People must be coming here because of the Hawkeyes, so that's awesome.
Now, Deb, as we said earlier, she was here in field hockey 1982 through 85. So that's, we're talking in the 30-some years ago. And so they're, now, it's not far enough back where there was horses and buggies here, but, because I've been here a lot longer than that. But anyway, it's been a while, and tell us how it's changed for you.
Well, when I played here, we actually played our field hockey games in Kinnick Stadium. So we didn't. Now, athletic facilities. Now field hockey has their own venue, beautiful field, beautiful locker rooms, and this Coralville area, like everyone said on the panel. I was here last year. We were honored. My '84 team was honored going to the Final Four. But the restaurants out here, the hotels, it's just a beautiful area. So every time I come back to Iowa, it's something new, something different, bigger and better for the student athletes and for the community at large.
We don't let a lot of grass grow under our feet. We like to stay up with everybody. We'd like to remind everybody that after we're done here in a few minutes, right off to my left right here, this Hall of Fame panel right here will be signing autographs for anyone who's interested, true Hawkeye royalty. And at this time, I would like to acknowledge the person who puts this all together as far as the Hall of Fame, and that's Andy Pirro. Andy is right behind the curtain here, and as usual, he doesn't want to step out and wave his hand, but Andy Pirro is, he and his family are part of Hawkeye royalty too. His dad was Whitey Pirro, who was a Hawkeye coach through the years. So Andy, thank you for everything you've done to make this Hall of Fame weekend a wonderful one for all of these people here. Well, you're all Hall of Famers, so tell us the number one thing you're going to take away or hope to take away from this weekend aside from being with family. We'll start here again. Jeremy?
Well, I'm just going to take away the memories, obviously, the experience. I think really kind of shows how life comes back around. Obviously when we came in here as freshmen, none of us knew where we would be. And to know that 20 years later, or 30, or however long we've been away, you can still, you can still reflect back on those wonderful memories. You can still get honored. You can still be proud of being a Hawkeye. So I'm just looking at this weekend and enjoying it. I'm fully aware that this might be my last athletic sort of achievement. So I'm just enjoying it, and that's really what I'm looking at.
Deb, just going to go down the line here.
Yeah, very similar feelings. Just to enjoy the moment. My two sons, Will and Teddy, are here with me, and just for them to experience big-time athletics and awesome Iowa Hawkeye fans and the support that we get from the community. It's just a wonderful feeling. So that's the one thing I want to take away.
Great. Eric?
Just like everybody else, just taking it all in, a little bit at a time, enjoying it for what it's worth. Always good to see old coaches and teammates and friends and fellow athletes, and just, yeah, it's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, for me, like I mentioned when I found out, I get to see this every day, and I really want to be able to step back and get a view of just how amazing this place is. Getting recognized for something you did 30 years ago is a little unusual, but right now, just to take it all in, just again how special this place is and how supportive it is of athletes. So
I'm going to take away the Hawkeye pride. Like 30 years ago also. It's a long time ago, and every time you come back for a coach's, induction or whatever, you feel that pride of the black and gold every single time. And even though it was only a few years ago, it's amazing that you feel it again. And you go home and you try to explain it to people, how it feels at a football game, how it feels at FRYfest, how it feels to see the whole city decked out. And you can't explain it to anybody. So I'm super happy that I have my family and friends here to share it with, so they actually get to feel that.
Wonderful. Leroy?
The experience of sharing it with my family, it feels good that my sons and my daughter's upstairs doing some work. Just being able to experience this with my family, and they get to see what Iowa's really about. Living in Texas, and you talk about Iowa as like it's a third world country, but they get to really see the Hawkeye figure.
The same thing that everybody said, just enjoying the moment and remembering everything from when I played and having my family here experiencing it. My niece, even though she's on the phone right now, but it's okay. Just to let them see what I went through when I played here, and just all like the pride, the black and gold, everything about Iowa is really awesome, and just taking away all of that. It's a good experience.
Thank you. It is something special to be a Hawkeye, and I think a great example is our football coach, Kirk Ferentz. How many coaches in this country, how many schools can say they've had two coaches basically in the last 40 years as far as football is concerned? I'll give you the answer. It's none except Iowa. And that's why the term "it's great to be a Hawkeye" sticks with all of us, and with our coaches and with our athletes. So we'd like to remind everybody, this group is going to go right next door to us here at those tables and sign autographs here in about a minute. But one last time, we'd like to remind you, this is the Hall of Fame class, royalty for the Hawkeyes for 2019. We'd like him to stand one more time in front of you. Hall of Famer Jeremy Allen. Hall of Famer Deb Brickey. Hall of Famer Eric Juergens. Hall of Famer Marc Long. Hall of Famer Diane Pohl. Hall of Famer Leroy Smith. And Hall of Famer Tangela Smith. Your Hall of Fame class 2019 for the Hawkeyes. Let's hear it for them. Thank you all very much, and like I said, the autograph session starts now and will continue for quite a while right here to my left at those tables. Congratulations, Hall of Famers. And remember tonight's banquet, we'd like to see as many of you tonight as possible.